Captain Jake Morrison walked through the quiet halls of the USS Endeavour. His boots made soft sounds on the metal floor. The ship was far from Earth, looking for minerals on empty planets. It was supposed to be a simple job. Find rocks, take samples, go home. Jake had been doing this work for 8 years. He liked the peace of deep space. No politics, no crowds, just him and his crew of 30 people floating between the stars. Today felt different, though. Something was coming. "Captain to the bridge," came a voice over the ship's speakers. I will were I at all. We're with one lower. She sounded worried. Jake walked faster. Lisa never sounded worried. She was the kind of person who stayed calm when the ship's reactor was making strange noises. If she was worried, something was really wrong. The bridge was small and cramped. 5 chairs faced a big screen that showed the black of space and distant stars. Lisa was at her station, staring at numbers and wave patterns on her screen. "What do you have for me, Lisa?" Jake asked. "Something weird, Captain. I'm picking up a signal. It's not from any human ship or station. The pattern is all wrong." Lisa pointed at her screen. "It's repeating every few minutes, broadcasting on multiple frequencies." Danny Walsh looked up from his communication station. He was young, maybe 25, with red hair and freckles. "I've been trying to decode it for the last hour. Definitely not human, but parts of it sound like Galactic Standard language." Jake raised an eyebrow. Galactic Standard was the trade language used by the few alien species that humans had met. Most aliens didn't want much to do with humans. They thought Earth was too dangerous and humans were too violent. "Can you clean it up?" Jake asked. "Working on it now," Danny said. His fingers moved fast over his controls. "Give me a few more minutes." Jake sat in his captain's chair and waited. The Endeavour was a research ship, not a military vessel. It had some basic weapons for protection against pirates, but nothing serious. If they were about to meet unfriendly aliens, they would be in trouble. Katie Brooks, the ship's engineer, came onto the bridge. She was a short woman with oil stains on her hands and a worried look on her face. "Captain, I'm reading some strange energy patterns from whatever is sending that signal. It's powerful, but the technology is different from anything I've seen." "Different how?" Jake asked. "It's like they built their machines to last forever instead of being efficient. Everything is redundant. Multiple backups for every system. Whoever made this really doesn't want their message to stop broadcasting." Danny suddenly sat up straight. "Got it. The signal is much clearer now. Captain, you need to hear this." The bridge speakers crackled to life. A voice came through, speaking in broken Galactic Standard. The words were hard to understand, but the tone was clear. It was fear. Pure, desperate fear. "Please, ... anyone who hears this message, ... we need help. The Kreks have come to our worlds. They destroy everything. We cannot fight them. We do not know how to fight. Our people are dying. Our children hide in the deep places, but the Kreks will find them soon." The voice paused, and they could hear something like crying in the background. "We are the Zephyrian Collective. We live on 7 worlds in the Kepler system. The Kreks have taken 2 worlds already. 5 remain, but not for long. We have no weapons. We have no soldiers. Grow food and heal the sick. We make art and sing songs. We do not know war." Another pause. The crying got louder. "If there is anyone out there who can help, please come. We will give you anything we have. Our knowledge, our resources, anything. We just want our children to live. Please, if you can hear this, help us." The message ended and started over from the beginning. The bridge was quiet for a long moment. Jake looked at his crew. Lisa was staring at her screen with tears in her eyes. Danny had his head in his hands. Katie was cleaning her hands with a rag, but her movements were angry and sharp. "Captain," Lisa said quietly, "I've run the signal through our star charts. Kepler system is about 6 days away at maximum speed." "What do we know about these creks?" Jake asked. Danny worked at his station for a minute. "Not much in our databases. They're mentioned in a few trade reports. Insectoid species, very aggressive, expanding their territory. Most other aliens are afraid of them." "How afraid?" Jake asked. "The kind of afraid where they change the subject when you ask about them," Danny said. Jake stood up and walked to the big screen. He could see the stars, but they looked different now. Somewhere out there, people were dying. Children were hiding in caves while monsters hunted them. Captain Katie said, "We're a research ship. We have 20 Marines and some mining equipment. If these creks are as dangerous as they sound, we can't fight them." "Maybe not," Jake said, "but we can try." Lisa looked up from her station. "Jake, we should call for help. Send a message back to Earth Fleet Command. Let them handle this." "How long would that take?" Jake asked. 3 weeks for the message to reach Earth. Another month for them to put together a fleet. 2 more weeks for that fleet to get here. 7 weeks total, minimum. Jake nodded. "These people don't have 7 weeks. They probably don't have 7 days." He turned to face his crew. These were good people, they'd signed. Up to explore space and find new minerals, not fight wars. But Jake could see something in their eyes. It's the same thing he felt in his chest. They had heard children crying in that message. "I'm not going to order anyone to do this," Jake said. "This isn't what we signed up for. If we go to help these Zephyrians, we might not come back. The creks might kill us all." Danny spoke first. "My sister has kids, Captain, little ones, about 5 and 7 years old. When I heard those kids crying," shook his head. "I can't just ignore that." "The Endeavor isn't built for war," Katie said, "but I can make some modifications. Our mining charges are basically bombs. The cargo manipulators could be weapons. It won't be much, but it's something." Lisa was quiet for a moment, then looked up at Jake. "My grandmother used to tell me stories about the old days when humans first went to space. She said we had a choice. We could be explorers or conquerors. Chose to explore." She paused. "But sometimes explorers have to fight to protect what they've found." Jake felt a warmth in his chest. These were his people. They were scared, but they were brave. They were human. "Danny, send a message back to Earth. Tell them what we've found and what we're doing. Give them our course and destination. Sir Katie, start working on those modifications. Turn our mining ship into something that can bite back. Already." "On it, Captain." Lisa, plot a course for the Kepler system, maximum speed, and keep monitoring that signal. I want to know everything we can about these Zephyrians and the creks. Course laid in, Captain. Jake sat back down in his chair. In a few minutes, the Endeavor would change course and head toward a war zone. They were one small ship with 30 people going to fight an enemy that had conquered 2 worlds. A smart thing would be to run away. But Jake Morrison had never been accused of being too smart. He was human, and humans had a bad habit of doing the right thing, even when it was stupid. "Take us out, Lisa. Let's go save some lives." The USS Endeavor turned toward the Kepler system and the unknown. Behind them, a message raced toward Earth at the speed of light, carrying news that would change everything. Ahead of them, an alien species waited for help that they never expected to come. The age of humanity as galactic peacekeepers was about to begin. 6 days of hard travel brought the USS Endeavor to the edge of the Kepler system. Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge, looking at the main screen. What he saw made his stomach drop. Space around the third planet was full of debris. Pieces of metal and plastic floated in dark clouds. Some pieces were big enough to be whole buildings. Others were so small they looked like dust. All of it had once been ships or space stations. "My God," whispered Lisa Rodriguez from her science station. There must have been hundreds of ships here. Danny Walsh was working frantically at his communications panel, picking up some weak signals from the planet's surface. The Zephyrians are still broadcasting, but it's much weaker now. Jake felt his jaw tighten. They were too late to save this world. But maybe they could still help. Somewhere else. Any sign of the Krex fleet? He asked. Long-range sensors showed they moved on 3 days ago, Lisa said, heading toward the 4th planet. That's where the main Zephorian population is, Danny added. The signal we've been following is coming from there. Jake nodded. Of course. For the 4th planet. Best speed. The Endeavor moved deeper into the system. As they got closer to Planet 4, they started seeing ships. Not debris this time, but actual working ships. They were strange-looking, with smooth curves instead of sharp angles. It looked like they were grown instead of built. Captain. Danny said, I'm getting a transmission. It's in Galactic Standard, much clearer than the distress signal. Put it through. A new voice came over the speakers. This one was calmer than the desperate broadcasts they had been hearing, but Jake could still hear fear underneath the words. Unknown ship. This is Ambassador Veltar of the Zephorian Collective. Please identify yourself. Are you here to help us, or are you scouts for the Krex? Jake stepped forward. Ambassador Veltar, this is Captain Jake Marson of the human vessel USS Endeavor. We received your distress signal and came to help. There was a long pause. Then the voice came back, sounding confused. Human. We do not know this species. Your ship design is unfamiliar. Please, Captain Morrison, we need to meet face to face. Can you come to our planet? We're on our way down now, Jake said. An hour later, Jake stood in the shuttle bay with Dr. Ryan Foster, the ship's medical officer. Ryan was a thin man with gentle eyes, but Jake had seen him work under pressure. If they were going to meet a new alien species, having a doctor along seemed smart. The shuttle ride to the planet's surface was quiet. Jake looked out the window and saw a world that looked like a painting. The continents were covered in what looked like gardens. Cities were built into hills and valleys, blending with the landscape instead of conquering it. Rivers and lakes sparkled in the sunlight. It's beautiful, Ryan said softly. Yeah, Jake agreed. And someone is trying to destroy it. They landed in a clearing near what looked like the main city. A group of aliens was waiting for them. Jake's first look at the Zephyrians made him understand why they couldn't fight the Krex. The aliens were tall, maybe 7 feet, but they looked fragile. Their skin was pale and seemed to glow slightly. Their faces were long and narrow, with large eyes that took up much of their heads. They had 4 arms, but all of them looked thin and delicate. The one in front stepped forward. When it moved, colors rippled across its skin like oil on water. I am Veltar, it said. The voice was musical, like singing. You are the humans who answered our call for help? That's right, Jake said. I'm Captain Morrison. This is Dr. Foster. Veltar's skin shifted to darker colors. Captain, I must be honest with you. We do not understand why you came. We sent our message to all known species in this part of the galaxy. Most ignored us. Others sent messages of sympathy, but said they could not help. You were the only ones who came. Jake and Ryan exchanged glances that explained a lot about Galactic politics. Maybe we can talk about that later, Jake said. Right now, we need to know about the Krex. How many ships do they have? What kind of weapons? How much time do we have? Veltar's skin went almost black. Other Zephirians nearby started making soft humming sounds that Jake realized might be crying. Please, come with us to our council chamber. What we have to show you is ... difficult. They walked through the city, and Jake was amazed by what he saw. The buildings were grown from some kind of living material. Plants and structures blended together so perfectly that it was hard to tell where one ended and the other began. Gardens were everywhere, with foods and flowers Jake had never seen. But he also saw the fear. Zephirians moved in small groups, always looking at the sky. Many of them were carrying bags, like they were ready to run at any moment. The council chamber was a large room with no ceiling, open to the sky above. Holographic displays showed star maps and ship movements. What Jake saw made his blood run. cold. "This is the Krex fleet," Veltar said, pointing to a cluster of red dots on the display. 237 ships. The smallest ones are twice the size of your vessel. The largest ones are? Veltar paused, searching for words. "We do not have good comparisons. They are like small moons." Ryan whistled softly. "How many troops do they carry?" "We estimate 15 million Krex warriors," another Zephyrian said. This one's skin was covered in pale scars. "I am Healer Morden. I was on the second world when they attacked. I saw what they do." "Tell us," Jake said. Morden's colors went dark. "They do not just conquer, they consume. They take our people as slaves for their factories. They strip our worlds of all resources. They eat our food reserves and destroy anything they cannot use. After they pass, nothing remains." Jake felt sick. "How long do we have before they get here?" 3 days, Veltar said. "Maybe 4 if their scouts take extra time to study our defenses." "What defenses?" Jake asked. The silence that followed was answer enough. "We are not warriors, Captain Morrison," Veltar said finally. "We have never fought a war. We do not know how to build weapons or organize battles. Our ships are for exploration and trade, not combat. When the Krex demand surrender, other species surrender. We will too, because we do not know any other choice." Jake looked around the room at the assembled Zephyrians. They were all looking at him with their large eyes, hoping he had answers. But Jake was just a mining ship captain with 30 people. And some improvised weapons. "What about the other species?" Ryan asked. "Don't any of them help each other?" "You do not understand galactic society," Veltar said. "Species stay in their own territory. They trade, they talk, but they do not fight each other's wars. The strong survive, the weak are consumed. This is how it has always been, till now," Jake said quietly. Veltar's skin shifted to brighter colors. "You really intend to help us fight? But you are only one ship. How can you stand against 200? Jake smiled, but it wasn't a happy smile. "You said something interesting, Veltar. You said other species answered your message with sympathy. They said they couldn't help, but none of them asked what kind. Of world humans come from, did they?" "I do not understand, Dr. Foster," Jake said. "What's the gravity here?" Ryan checked his scanner. "About 0.7 Earth standard. Atmosphere's thinner too, less oxygen." Jake nodded. "Veltar, what kind of world do your people originally come from?" "Paradise worlds," Veltar said, confusion in his voice. "Perfect climate, no dangerous weather, no predators. All Zephyrian worlds are the same. Why do you ask?" "'Cause humans come from what your people would call a death world," Jake said. "Strong gravity, violent weather, and everything on our planet is trying to kill us. We evolved to survive in hell." The Zephyrians stared at him. Some of their skin went pale white. "Are from a Class 5 death world?" Morden whispered. "That is impossible. No intelligent species can evolve on such a world." "We did," Jake said. "And that changes everything." He turned to the display, showing the Krex fleet. 200 ships full of 15 million warriors, coming to destroy these gentle people who had never hurt anyone. "Veltar, I need you to gather every Zephyrian who is willing to fight. I know you're not warriors, but we're going to teach you what we can. Dr. Foster will work with your healers to set up medical stations." Captain Veltar said softly, "Even if we learn to fight, we are still only a few thousand against millions." Jake looked at the alien, then at the peaceful city beyond the windows. Somewhere above them, his crew was working to turn a mining ship into a weapon of war. It should have been hopeless, but Jake Morrison was human, and humans had been beating impossible odds for their entire history. "Veltar," he said, "you're about to learn why the rest of the galaxy is afraid of Deathworlders." Sergeant Alex Carter was having the strangest day of his military career. He stood in what the Zephyrians called a training field, watching 20 aliens try to hold basic weapons. The problem was that the weapons kept falling out of their hands. "No, Alex said for the 10th time. "You have to grip it tight. Like this." He demonstrated with one of their energy rifles. To him, it felt light as a feather. To the Zephyrians, it seemed to weigh as much as a boulder. One of the aliens, a young male named Kethlo, managed to lift his rifle and point it forward. Then he pulled the trigger. The small blast of energy hit a practice target 50 feet away. The recoil knocked Kethlo backward, and he fell on the ground unconscious. "Is this normal?" Alex asked Dr. Ryan Foster, who was checking on the fallen alien. "For them, yes," Ryan said. "Their bones are hollow like bird bones. Their muscles are designed for fine work, not strength, and their nervous system is much more sensitive than ours." Alex looked at the other Zephyrians. They were all staring at Kethlo with fear in their large eyes. Half of them had put their weapons down and stepped back. "How do they expect to fight the Kreks like this?" Alex muttered. "They don't," said a voice behind him. Alex turned to see Ambassador Veltar approaching. The alien's skin was showing dark blue patterns that Alex had learned meant sadness. "Then why are they trying?" Alex asked. "Because you asked us to," Veltar said simply. "You came here to help us, so we will try to help you, even if it kills us." Alex felt something twist in his stomach. These people were willing to die just because humans had asked them to fight. It wasn't right, Veltar. Maybe we should try a different approach. What are your people good at? We grow things. Heal injuries and sickness. We build beautiful structures. We make art and music. Veltar paused. We are very good at hiding. Alex nodded. Then that's what we'll use. While Alex worked with the Zephyrians on the surface, engineer Katie Brooks was busy in space. She floated outside the USS Endeavour in a spacesuit, welding metal plates to the ship's hull around her. The rest of the engineering crew was turning their peaceful research vessel into something that could fight. "Katie, how's it looking out there?" came Captain Morrison's voice through her helmet radio. "Well, Captain, she's not going to win any beauty contests, but she'll be tough," Katie replied. She finished her weld and moved to the next section. "I've armored all the critical systems, turned the mining charges into torpedo warheads. The cargo manipulators can now throw things at enemy ships at very high speed. Things. Metal chunks, mostly. But at the speeds we can throw them, they'll hit like artillery shells." Katie moved to check the main engines. The Endeavour had been designed to push through asteroid fields while carrying heavy loads of ore. The engines were powerful, and the structure was strong. It was like turning a mining truck into a tank. "The Zephyrians keep asking me how I can work for 18 hours straight," Katie continued. "They can't understand why I don't collapse from exhaustion." "What do you tell them?" "I'm just getting warmed up." Inside the ship, communications officer Danny Walsh was having his own strange experience. He sat in front of multiple screens, trying to understand Krek's military communications. With him was a Zephyrian named Talara, who was supposedly their best expert on Krek's technology. "The Kreks use a very simple command structure," Talara explained. Her skin showed pale yellow colors that meant concentration. "One ship gives orders. All others obey. If you destroy the command ship, the others become confused." "How confused?" Danny asked. "They will stop attacking and wait for new orders. This can take several hours." Danny made notes on his tablet. "What about their weapons?" "Plasma cannons. Very powerful. They can destroy our ships with one hit." Tellara's color shifted to worried purple. "Your ship is much smaller than ours. How can it survive even one shot?" "Which might not," Danny said honestly. "But it's not about surviving. It's about making every shot count." Tellara stared at him. "You are willing to die to protect people you just met." Danny thought about his sister back on Earth, about her kids who would grow up safe, because people like him were willing to fight. "For strangers, that's what humans do," he said in the medical bay. Dr. Ryan Foster was learning things about alien biology that fascinated and worried him. He worked with Healer Morden, studying blood samples and tissue scans from both species. "This is remarkable," Ryan said, looking at test results on his computer. "Human blood carries 20 times more oxygen than Zephyrian blood. Your people would pass out in our atmosphere. And we would be poisoned by the heavy metals in your water," Morden replied. "How do you survive on such a harsh world?" He adapted. Ryan pulled up more data. "Look at this. Human bone density is 3 times higher than yours. Our muscle fibers, are much more compact. What we consider normal strength would be superhuman to your people. Morden was quiet for a moment. No wonder the galaxy fears Deathworld species. You are built for survival in ways we cannot imagine. It's not just physical, Ryan said. Watch this. He showed Morden a video feed from the training ground where Sergeant Carter was still working with Zephyrian volunteers. On the screen, they could see Alex demonstrating combat moves. He moved fast and smooth, like violence was a dance he had practiced his whole life. Your sergeant shows no fear, Morden observed, even though he knows he will face enemies that outnumber him thousands to one. Fear is just information, Ryan said. It tells us there's danger, but it doesn't control us. We learn to use. Fear is a tool instead of letting it paralyze us. Morden's skin shifted to dark green. We do not understand this concept. We are afraid, we hide or run. How do you fight when you are afraid? We fight because we're afraid, Ryan said. We're afraid of what happens to innocent people if we don't. On the bridge, Captain Jake Morrison stood looking at tactical displays with Lisa Rodriguez. The screens showed the approaching Krex fleet, still 2 days away, but getting closer. Lisa, what do you think our chances are? Jake asked quietly. Lisa was honest, as always. In a straight fight? 0. They have 200 ships. We have 1. They have 15 million troops. We have 30 people. But this won't be a straight fight. Lisa pulled up ship schematics on her screen. The Zephyrians build everything to last forever. Their space stations are incredibly strong, just not designed for war. If we can get the Krex to fight us in the orbital structures around the planet, we might be able to even the odds. How? Turn their own strength against them. The Krex are used to overwhelming force. They send massive fleets against defenseless targets. They've never had to fight in close quarters against an enemy that refuses to give up. Jake nodded. What about the Zephyrians? Can they help? Not in direct combat. But they know their own technology better than anyone, and they're incredibly good at repair work. We can keep our ship running long enough, they might be able to fix battle damage faster than the Krex can cause it. It's a big if. Yes, it is. Jake looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, children were hiding, while monsters came to destroy their world. It should have been hopeless. By every logical measure, it was hopeless. But Jake had learned something important during his years in space. Logic was useful, but it wasn't everything. Sometimes the impossible happened because someone was too stubborn to quit. Lisa, send a message to all department heads. I want a full briefing in 1 hour. We're going to plan the impossible. Yes, sir, as Lisa sent the message. Jake continued, staring at the stars. The Krex had conquered 47 species over 3 centuries. They had never lost a major battle. They had never retreated from a weaker enemy. They had also never fought humans before. Jake smiled. It wasn't a nice smile. It was the smile of a predator who had been pushed too far. The Krex were about to learn why evolution had given Deathworld species such dangerous gifts. They were about to discover that sometimes the most dangerous thing in the universe was someone who refused to give up. In 2 days, the galaxy would find out what happened when an unstoppable force met an immovable object. The Krex Empire was about to collide with human stubbornness. Jake had a feeling the universe was about to change in ways no one expected. The Krex fleet arrived like a storm of metal and death. Marl Vexkar stood on the bridge of his flagship looking at the blue and green world spinning below. It looked peaceful and weak, just like all the others his empire had conquered.
Admiral?
His communications officer hissed. The prey planet is sending us a message. Vexakar's mandibles clicked with amusement. The prey always sent messages at the end, begging for mercy, offering tribute, promising to surrender if only their children could live. It was always the same. Put it through, Vexkar said. The message came from a small ship orbiting the planet. The vessel looked strange, built from metal instead of the living materials most species used. On the screen appeared a creature Vexkar had never seen before. It had only 2 arms, strange fur on its head, and small eyes that seemed to burn with inner fire. Krex fleet, the creature said. This is Captain Jake Morrison of the human vessel USS Endeavor. You are not welcome in this system. Leave now, or we will make you leave." Vexkar stared at the screen for a moment, then burst into what passed. For laughter, among his species, his bridge crew joined in, filling the air with clicking and hissing sounds. "Human?" Vextar said. "We've never heard of your species. Are you the new pets of the plant eaters?" "No," Jake Morrison said calmly. "We're the people who are going to stop you." This made Vexkar laugh even harder. "Little creature, we are 200 ships strong, carry 15 million warriors." "What are you?" "We're 30 people on one ship," Jake said. "Come and take us." The transmission ended. Vexkar's laughter died. In 300 years of conquest, no prey species had ever responded with defiance. They begged, they bargained, they surrendered. They did not challenge the Krex to fight. Admiral, his tactical officer, said, "Should we destroy the small ship first?" Vexkar thought for a moment. Something felt wrong, but he could not identify what. The humans had only one tiny ship. They posed no threat, yet something in that. Creature's eyes had looked dangerous. "Send the first wave," Vexkar ordered. "Take the planet. We'll deal with the strange ship afterward." On the surface of the Zephyrian world, Sergeant Alex Carter crouched behind a barricade made from mining equipment. Around him, 20 human crew members checked their weapons and prepared for battle. Mixed in with them were 50 Zephyrians, who had volunteered to fight even though they could barely hold their rifles. "Remember," Alex said into his radio, "we're not trying to win a fair fight. We're trying to make them pay for every inch. We'll make every shot count, then fall back too." The next position. Above them, the sky filled with Krex, landing ships. They looked like giant metal insects, carrying thousands of warriors each. Alex counted at least 100 ships in the first wave. "Contact in 30 seconds," came Lisa Rodriguez's voice from orbit. "Good luck down there." Alex smiled grimly. "We don't need luck. We're human." The first Krex ship landed a mile away. The loading ramp dropped and warriors poured out. They were 8 feet tall, covered in natural armor plating, with 4 arms that ended in claws. They moved fast and carried weapons that looked like they could cut through tank armor. "Jesus," whispered Marine Corporal Ben Garcia, who was crouched next to Alex. "Look at the size of them." "Size doesn't matter," Alex said calmly. "What matters is who wants to win more." Krex advanced in perfect formation. They had done this thousands of times before on dozens of worlds. They expected the defenders to break and run at the first sight of their overwhelming force. Instead, the humans waited until the Krex were 500 yards away and opened fire. The mining charges that Katie Brooks had converted into explosives tore through the Krex ranks. Improvised weapons hit with more force than the aliens expected. Warriors that had seemed invincible moments before were thrown backward by the blasts. But the Krex recovered quickly. They were professional soldiers, and they had fought tougher battles than this. They spread out and began advancing again, using cover and suppression fire. That was when they discovered their first surprise about fighting humans. Alex Carter had been a soldier for 12 years. He had fought in 3 wars and countless smaller battles. He knew that the key to surviving impossible odds was not to fight fair. It was to fight smart, fight dirty, and never give up. As the Krex advanced, they walked into traps that no civilized species would have thought to build. Explosive charges buried in the ground, sniper positions hidden in places that should have been impossible to reach, ambush points that looked like empty ground but concealed human fighters who struck without. Warning and disappeared before the Krex could respond. "What kind of creatures are these?" Vexkar demanded, as reports came in from the surface. "My warriors are taking heavy casualties, but they cannot find the enemy." The humans seemed to be using irregular warfare tactics. His intelligence officer reported they do not fight in formation. They strike and retreat. Strike and retreat. It is ... dishonorable. Vexakar's mandibles clicked with anger. Karna was important to the Krex. They fought face to face, warrior to warrior. This hiding and ambushing was the behavior of cowards, but it was also effective. In the first hour of battle, Vexkar lost more warriors than he had in the last 3 planetary conquests combined. In space, the USS Endeavour danced between Krek's warships like a fighter dodging giants. Captain Jake Morrison sat in his command chair, calling out orders as enemy fire filled the space around them. "Katie, I need more power to the engines." "You've got it, Captain," came the engineer's voice from below. "But I can't keep this up forever." Navigator Pete Johnson twisted the ship through a gap between two Krek's cruisers, avoiding their main guns by inches. "Captain, they're trying to box us in. And let's not be there when they close the box," Jake said. "Danny, are you ready with the surprise?" "Ready, Captain," Danny Walsh said from his communication station. He had been working for 2 days to hack into Krek's communication systems. Now it was time to see if his work had paid off. "Do it." Danny sent a signal that spread through the Krek's fleet's communication network. Suddenly, half the enemy ships received orders to break off their attack and return to formation. The other half received orders to advance and engage. The result was chaos. Krek's ships collided with each other as they tried to follow contradictory orders. Some stopped moving entirely while their commanders tried to figure out what was happening. "Now," Jake shouted. The Endeavour dove toward the largest group of confused Krek's ships. Katie's converted mining equipment fired metal chunks at incredible speed. The improvised projectiles punched through enemy hulls like they were made of paper. 3 Krek's destroyers exploded in brilliant fireballs. A fourth ship lost its engines and began spinning out of control. Vexkar watched his perfectly organized fleet dissolve into chaos and felt something he had never experienced before. Fear, not fear of death, which he had faced many times, but fear of the unknown. These humans fought in ways that made no sense. On the planet's surface, the battle had become a nightmare for the Krek's ground forces. Every building they entered might contain human fighters. Every street corner might hide an ambush. The humans seemed to be everywhere and nowhere at the same time. Corporal Ben Garcia crouched in the ruins of a Zephyrian garden, his left arm broken from a Krek's energy blast. But he was still fighting, still moving, still causing damage to the enemy. A Krek's warrior rounded the corner and Garcia put 3 rounds center mass before the alien knew what hit him. "Garcia, fall back to position 3, came Alex Carter's voice over the radio. "Can't do it, Sarge," Garcia replied. "My arm's busted. I'll slow you down. Then we'll carry you." "No, you won't." Garcia's voice was calm and determined. "I've got a better idea? Send me some of those mining charges." Alex understood immediately. "Garcia, you don't have to do this." "Yeah, I do. These bug-eyed monsters want to hurt kids. That's not happening on my watch." 20 minutes later, 50 Krek's warriors entered the building where Garcia had made his stand. The explosion could be seen from orbit. Dr. Ryan Foster worked frantically. In a makeshift medical station, treating both human and Zephyrian wounded, his hands moved with steady precision, even as enemy fire shook the building around him. A young Zephyrian named Kethlo was brought in with severe burns. Ryan worked to stabilize him while explosions echoed outside. Dr. Kethlo whispered, "Why do you humans fight so hard for people you just met?" Ryan continued working as he answered, "'Cause if we don't fight for strangers, who's going to? Fight for us when we need help. But you might die." "Everybody dies, Kethlo. The question is whether you die for something that matters." As the battle raged, something strange began to happen. Reports started coming in from across the galaxy. Other species had detected the fighting in the Kepler system. They were watching to see what would happen when the unstoppable Krek's empire met these unknown humans. For the first time in 3 centuries, the Krek's were not winning easily. For the first time in galactic history, someone was fighting back with a ferocity that matched their own. Admiral Vexkar stood on his bridge, watching his invasion force struggle against a handful of creatures from a world no one had ever heard of. His perfect war machine was grinding to a halt against an enemy that refused to follow the rules. "Admiral," his communications officer said, "we're receiving messages from across the galaxy." The message traveled faster than light across the galaxy. On 1,000 worlds, in 100 different languages, the same words were being spoken. The Krek's are retreating. For the first time in 3 centuries, the unstoppable Krek's war machine had been stopped. by 30 humans on one ship, Admiral Lisa Parker stood on the bridge of the USS Constellation, leading a small fleet of human warships toward the Kepler system. She had received Jake Morrison's distress call 3 weeks ago and immediately launched with everything she could gather on short notice.
Admiral,
Her communications officer said, "We're receiving transmissions from the battle zone. It's incredible. Put it through." Jake Morrison's voice came over the speakers, tired but alive. "Admiral Parker, this is Captain Morrison. We're still here, and so are the Zephyrians." Lisa felt relief wash over her. "Jake, what's your status?" "Our long range. Sensors showed massive Krex fleet movements in your area. They're pulling back," Jake said. "Not retreating exactly, but regrouping. I think we confused them. We confused the Krex Empire with one research ship. Turns out nobody ever taught them how to fight an enemy that refuses to quit." Lisa smiled. That sounded like Jake Morrison. "We'll be there in 6 hours. Hold on. We'll be here, Admiral. We're not going anywhere." On the surface of the Zephyrian world, Ambassador Veltar walked through the ruins of what had been a battle zone. Around him, humans and Zephyrians worked together to clear debris and tend to the wounded. He found Sergeant Alex Carter sitting on a piece of broken wall, looking out at the sunset. The human soldier was covered in bandages, but his eyes were alert and watchful. "Sergeant Carter," Veltar said, his skin showing colors of deep respect. "May I speak with you?" "Of course," Alex said. "Call me Alex." Veltar sat beside him, his arms folding in a gesture of peace. "I do not understand what happened here. My people have lived in peace for 1,000 years. We never learned to fight, never wanted to learn. Then you came, and suddenly we were warriors." Alex looked. "At the alien, you were always warriors, Veltar. You just needed a reason to fight. But we are weak compared to you. We cannot lift your weapons or endure your training." "How did we help?" Alex pointed to a group of Zephyrians who were repairing damaged equipment with incredible speed and precision. "You know your technology better than anyone. While we fought, you kept our weapons working and our communications running. You saved more human lives with your repairs than we saved with our fighting." Veltar's skin shifted to warm golden colors. "We did help, didn't we? More than you know." They sat in comfortable silence for a moment, watching the sunset paint the sky in brilliant colors. Finally, Veltar spoke again. "Alex, why did you come? Really? You could have ignored our message like everyone else." Alex thought about his answer carefully, because that's who we are. Humans have a saying, "Evil wins when good people do nothing." We heard children crying for help. We couldn't do nothing, even though it meant you might die, especially because of that. Alex looked at Veltar. "The universe is full of predators who pick on the weak. Someone has to stand up to them. Might as well be us." In space, Captain Jake Morrison floated in the damaged bridge of the USS Endeavour. Half his crew was injured. His ship was held together with emergency welds, and they had used up almost all their ammunition, but they were alive, and so were the Zephyrians. Captain Danny Walsh called from his station. "I'm picking up transmissions from all over the galaxy." Everyone's talking about what happened here. What are they saying? The peaceful species are asking for our help. The aggressive ones are demanding information about humans. And the Krex. Danny paused. The Krex are having internal debates about whether to continue their expansion. Jake raised an eyebrow. Internal debates? Apparently some of their military leaders are questioning the wisdom of conquest after what happened here. They've never encountered organized resistance. Before, it's causing political problems in their empire. Katie Brooks pulled herself onto the bridge, her engineering uniform torn and dirty. "Captain, I've got good news and bad news. The good news is we're not going to explode. The bad news is we're not going anywhere fast either. How long for repairs?" Jake asked. "With Zephyrian help? Maybe 2 weeks. They're amazing at fixing things. Without them, we'd be looking at months." Jake nodded. The partnership between humans and Zephyrians was working better than he had hoped. The aliens' technical skills complemented human determination perfectly. Captain Lisa Rodriguez said from her science station, "I'm detecting Admiral Parker's fleet approaching. ETA For hours. Good. Signal them our status and ... Captain, Danny interrupted. Priority message coming in. It's from Earth Fleet Command. The main screen flickered to life, showing Admiral Richard Stone, the head of Earth's Space Forces. His expression was a mixture of pride and exasperation. Captain Morrison, Admiral Stone said, when I gave you permission to command a research vessel, I didn't expect you to start an interstellar war. With respect, Admiral, we didn't start anything, just finished it. Admiral Stone's stern expression cracked into a smile. Jake, do you have any idea what you've done? We're receiving messages from 43 different species. Some want to ally with humanity. Others want to hire us as mercenaries. A few want to surrender before we even meet them. So the galaxy has been static for centuries. The strong conquered the weak, and everyone accepted it as natural law.
You just proved that's not true.
One human ship defeated the most feared military force in known space. Jake looked around his damaged bridge. We had help, sir. The Zephyrians fought beside us. Which brings up an interesting point. The Galactic Council has officially recognized humanity as a spacefaring civilization. They want to meet with us. They also want to know if we're accepting applications for protectorate status. Protectorate status. Other species want us to protect them from aggressive neighbors. Apparently word has spread that humans don't back down from fights, even impossible ones. Jake thought about that. What did you tell them, sir? I told them I'd ask the captain who started this whole mess. Admiral Stone leaned forward. Jake, you opened a door we can't close. The galaxy knows about humanity now. The question is, what do we do about it? Jake looked at his crew. They were tired, beaten up, and far from home. But they had answered a call for help from strangers and saved an entire species from extinction. Double quotes, sir. I think we do what we've always done. We protect the innocent and stand up to bullies. The galaxy is full of species like the Zephyrians who just want to live in peace. If we can help them do that, then that's what we should do. Admiral Stone nodded slowly. That's what I hoped you'd say. Jake, you and your crew are being reassigned. Welcome to the Galactic Protection Service. Congratulations. You're now humanity's first interstellar peacekeepers. The transmission ended, leaving Jake and his crew staring at each other in stunned silence. Well, Katie said finally, that's not what I expected when I signed up to mine asteroids. Danny was monitoring communications from across the galaxy. Captain, we're getting more messages. The Corvin Republic is asking for help with raiders. The Gentle Collective wants protection from slavers. And there's something from a species called the Vorthon. They say the Kreks are mobilizing for revenge. Jake stood up and walked to the main screen, looking out at the stars. Somewhere out there, the Kreks were planning their response. Other species were watching to see what humanity would do next. The age of galactic peace through human protection was just beginning. Danny, send a message to all the species asking for help. Tell them that humanity stands ready to assist any peaceful civilization that needs protection. Sir, shouldn't we wait for more ships? More people? Jake smiled. Danny, we just proved that sometimes one ship is enough. But you're right.
We're
going to need help? He turned to address his crew. People, we came out here to map stars and find minerals. Instead, we found something more important. We found people who needed help, and we helped them. Now the whole galaxy is watching to see what humans do when we're not fighting for our own survival. What do we do, Captain? Alex Carter asked. We do what humans have always done when faced with a choice between right and easy. We choose right. Even if it's hard, even if it's dangerous, even if the odds are impossible. Jake looked back at the stars. The galaxy just learned that humans come from a death world. Now they're going to learn something even more important. They're going to learn that Deathworlders don't just survive. We protect others so they can survive too. The USS Endeavor hung in space, damaged but not defeated. Around it, the Zephyrian world continued its slow rotation. People safe for the first time in months, and across the galaxy. On 1,000 different worlds, beings looked up at the stars and wondered what it would be like to have humans as friends instead of enemies. The age of humanity as galactic guardians had begun. The universe would never be the same. In the depths of space, the Krex Empire prepared for a war unlike any they had ever fought. They had conquered 47 species, but they had never faced an enemy that got stronger the longer the fight lasted. They were about to learn why evolution had made humans so dangerous, and why the most terrifying words in any language were, "We're here to help."